What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Culture 316.
This
I'm feeling really
motherfucker.
confident today. I am one of your hosts and producers, Jordan Nahisi.
And I am your co host, Mo. How are you people? I'm
Thanks so much
tired.
for tuning in once again. Uh, Per usual, if you are tapping in on YouTube or anywhere podcasts can be visually streamed, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere where you can audibly stream podcasts, be sure to give us a 5 stars, rate the show. Also, subscribe. We really, really appreciate y'all's support. But we're not gonna waste any more time. We're gonna get right into the show. Oh, by the way, it's Saturday morning when this comes out. And if you are listening to this on Saturday morning, be sure to join us today for our Money in the Bank space on our Twitter. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be, I believe, 11:45 Pacific Standard Time, 2:45 Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be great. You know how we do because it's in London this time, so it's earlier. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it. But we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to get right into the show.
I just want to also
So
say thank you for everyone that showed up to our last space. It was actually
yes,
really fun for Forbidden Door. Chaotic as well, by the way.
absolutely. The double or nothing. The Forbidden Door space went off, and it was actually probably one of our most popular spaces that we've ever done. So, but that shout out to y'all. Shout out to the people them that came through. And speaking of Forbidden Door, AEW Forbidden Door happened this past week. Um, that Sunday, I believe it was, live from the Scotiabank Arena, Scotiabank Center in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It was the second annual crossover show between All Elite Wrestling and New Japan Pro Wrestling, and obviously it featured some pretty some pretty top tier matches. Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega comes to mind. Bryan Danielson and Kazuchika Okada comes to mind. There were so many things that happened during the course of this event, but I kind of wanted to know, first things first, what were some of your takeaways from this event?
Oh, this show was actually really effing good.
Mm,
Um, you mentioned a few of my favorite matches. There's only a few matches I think were like a little forgettable for me. Forgettable to where I can't even remember the whole like match. Maybe like two or three I would have like thrown out.
hmm
My only really like complaint about it was just how long it was because
Yeah.
I think that show started with the buy-in started at like 7, and then I think it went past 12 with the Okada and Bryan match. And it's crazy too because we actually lost Adam Cole's match because he
He was
wasn't
ill.
cleared. So like that show basically would have been how many hours long if you added Adam Cole. That was a bit much for me, and my energy levels wasn't there for the last match, and I kind of feel bad because I had to just rewatch it afterward.
Mm,
But overall, it was a banger of a pay per view. Um, my personal favorites that I like to mention is definitely MJS match. That one went the fuck off.
mm.
I love Tony Storm versus Willow. Um, Will Osprey versus Kenny Omega is still my favorite out of the whole entire pay per view. So good that I rewatched it again.
Mm.
Uh, of course, Okada versus Daniel Bryan was a great one, and I think like the 3-on-3 was probably my basically my favorites out of the whole entire pay per view. It was fun. The crowd was definitely really into it. I was definitely into it. It told a whole bunch of different types of stories. It made a lot of people look very good. I was kind of surprised that the New Japan people was able to like keep up with the format of
Mm.
American wrestling, but
Yeah.
it was all really good, all extremely good, and I think everyone came out of it looking good. Like you really couldn't like complain to me about any of the finishes. Um, I want to ask you what are your favorite matches for we deep dive into the best ones of the night and
Whew.
why.
So I think there are a couple of matches that actually stood out to me. The 4-way for the international championship was actually really, really entertaining. I was very, very surprised. It was the Shibata, Orange Cassidy, Zack Saber Jr. Um, those guys were involved in, and Daniel Garcia. I was really, really happy with that match. Um, I really, really liked it. It was very, very surprising. And it was just very, very good, very, very solid all around, especially since that match featured the belt, your favorite championship belt of all time,
Hey, yo, stop playing about this belt.
this New Japan,
What do we call it? The DMV title?
the DMV title, yo. And this is the reason. And this is the reason why y'all need to be involved in the space because the DMV title is crazy. But I was really, really, really happy about that match. That was actually one of my favorite matches of the night. It was definitely a sleeper. Um, I feel like my matches obviously were the the outright my favorite my match of the night was Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega. It was such good storytelling. It was so suspenseful. There were so many good callbacks to their meeting at Wrestle Kingdom, which I thought was phenomenal. Will Ospreay banging freaking Kenny's head through the board, and then the involvement of Don
Yo, he
Callis
dropped Kenny on his head too,
on
bro.
his dome. I was like, God. I was just like, that is brutal. But it was so many things during that match that was just like, wow, okay, this is great. And it also kind of lets you know that there's more to come. So I was really, really happy about that. Um, but yeah, I don't want to deep dive yet because I don't want to give away too much. But what was your match of the night or the thing that you wanted to
Nah,
deep
let's
dive
stay
into?
right there. Let's
Yeah.
stay right there because I actually really love Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. I need to applaud this man for his heel work because it gave me very classic heel work, like
Mm.
very classic. Like nowadays, when it comes to the heels, they almost come off likable. But Will Ospreay made sure that Canada hated him. Like he took the
Mm-hmm.
flag, he stuck it through his booty cheeks, and he was just rubbing it back and forth, saying basically, "Fuck Kenny, fuck Trish, fuck Jericho, fuck Terrence and Phillip from South Park,
Terrence and Philla.
fuck
Blame
everybody."
Canada. Blame Canada. Oh my God. Don't get me
Yeah,
started on South Park.
that ass. Like he was just like he just said fuck Canada. But to me, the biggest jaw dropper of the entire night was him having the audacity on June 25th to pull out the Crippler crossface. I still can't believe he pulled that. I'm not sure if he just happened to see the date and it was just a coincidental, but bro, pulling out Chris Benoit's signature move
Absolutely ruthless.
in Canada on the memorial tribute. The day of his memorial tribute before anyone found out that he was not in fact a hero who was just sadly murdered with his family, but in fact the person leading said murder is insane. Like that's what he
Berserk.
came off like throughout this whole entire match, like a psychotic serial killer murderer. Like bro, he licked Kenny's blood
Right.
like straight in the camera. All hepatitis, like
All
literally.
hepatitis is unhinged.
Like
Not
I
all
was,
hepatitis.
yeah, and like yo, and let me backtrack too. I really love like the video package that they went with
I agree.
for Will Ospreay's opening. Like again, like he came off like as if like it's been something he's just been hovering, like this loss he's just been hovering for like months. And that's how really like a feud should go,
Mm-hmm.
realistically. But like just their acting in general just needs to be just like commended because I don't know if they hate each other in real life, but without knowing shit about shit, I would assume these two motherfuckers hate each other. Like, Will beat his ass for the majority of the match, and like normally by like typical wrestling formula, it's usually like, all right, if the person beats your ass for a long ass time in the beginning, then the other person's gonna get a babyface comeback and then beat your ass fair and square, right? It's usually like a nice story. No, they had Will beat his ass for like 20 minutes.
Oh, for real.
Like slinging him across the ring, left, right, inside, out, back in the ropes, on the apron. He did like a corkscrew moonsault onto the apron and
Over the
shit.
apron, yeah, that was tough.
Yo, like Will hated this man, like hated him. Like Kenny got like a few moves in. I think Kenny's best comeback the whole entire night was when he was furious off of that one winged angel. Like literally, like we thought the match was gonna finish there, but then he just stood up because he's like, "Yo, you have the
Kicked up at
audacity."
one. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Kicked out
he's
at
like, "It's
one.
the audacity."
He was like, "Oh no, 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 no. We're not doing this."
No, no, and Will beat him in, and it was such like a good match where it's just like, even though Kenny got his behind beat the whole entire match, like I think it was still really good storytelling, and it didn't make Kenny look weak. It just made Will Ospreay just look like
Stronger.
insane. Yeah, it made
Right.
him look strong. Yeah, yeah, like it was 50-50 booking, but it was very fair.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
definitely like to me, like I mean, I know we're only like 6 months into the year, almost seven, but to me, that's like has to go down as like match of the year because that was too good. Do you have any comments on the Kenny and Omega match?
So like you said, like I love the fact that he kind of gave off this impression that he was like harboring the loss at Wrestle Kingdom. And I feel like it wasn't a coincidence that like Kenny took the belt in Japan, which is like Will's turf, and then Will took the belt in Canada, which is Kenny's turf. So I love how they were very, very strategic in how they kind of planned who got the belt, who lost the belt, who won matches, and who lost matches. I felt like just once again, the callbacks were fantastic. I think you kind of touched on everything that I wanted to touch on with that match. My
Okay.
match that I want to go a little bit in depth on briefly, because we only have so much time, is the Bryan Danielson Kazuchika Okada match.
Deserves
Great
his flowers.
match. Great, great match. And I feel like just like the Will Ospreay and Kenny one, you can tell that there is going to be a future in that match, probably at Wrestle Kingdom or something along those lines. I was just really surprised that Kazuchika tapped, that Okada tapped. I was like, I'm not mad at it. I actually really, really like it, but I did not expect that to be the finish. But I think it's gonna give Okada like a little bit more umph when it's time for him to get his lick back. And also Bryan Danielson coming out to the final countdown. Ah, burst. For those
I
of
have
you who
a
don't know,
question.
what's
Oh, sorry.
up?
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I was just saying, based off the tap. Okay, like, do you feel like that displays of how Okada views Daniel? Because I feel like that had to have been like an agreement to
Mm-hmm.
obviously get Okada to tap. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And like Okada's like the baby of New Japan. Like he's like John Cena's New Japan. Yeah, he's like John Cena's New Japan. So it's just like I feel like for him to choose to tap over a pinfall, like how do you think that makes of him viewing Daniel Bryan?
I think it kind of affirms. I think it affirms three things. I think that it the ending of the match kind of was in alignment with the story of the match and the branding of the matches, which was we're going to find out who the best wrestler in the world is. For people who watch wrestling, you can easily make the argument that Bryan Danielson is the best professional wrestler in the world. So I think it was in alignment with that idea. Number
Hmm.
two, I think that it was kind of in alignment with Okada's respect for Danielson, because for him to lose like that in a different promotion, I feel like he had to have a very, very high sense of reverence for him. And number three, I think it's a reflection of how AEW views their relationship, or New Japan views their relationship with AEW. I feel like if you're going to send out the face of your company to lose clean via submission, it means you're really dedicated to fostering this relationship and trying to make this something bigger than just a one-time pay-per-view one-off type of situation. So I feel like it's very, very reflective of how they viewed this partnership. And I think it kind of also shows that they want to continue to work together, and that this match is probably going to also have some form of sequel at a later big event for New Japan, preferably Wrestle Kingdom. So
I agree with that. What was your point from earlier that I cut you off on?
I was just going to say, for those of you who weren't aware, Final Countdown, the song that Bryan Danielson walked out to, was his theme song in Ring of Honor. So I thought that that was just a really, really cool touch that they did. Just him coming out to Final Countdown was just very, very cool, very, very nostalgic. Like Tony and this money for this licensing of this theme music is berserk. I don't know how he does it, but this is the reason why certain people are billionaires and I am not.
Who you think did
So
his braids? You think Bree did that?
Bree did not do that. Bree did not do that. Bree, they were, where were they, in Toronto? Brian went to some ends, whatever ends Drake be on to get his hair braided when he had his cornrows. Brian was like, I need to see him where he gets his braids. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna get my cornrows done because bro was looking like he was about to get signed to OVO. I'm like, I'm like, Danielson, you got a single coming out with Popcorn soon, coming out soon, bro. You got something you got to tell us, bro.
Yeah.
But nah, he definitely those braids came from the hands of a Jamaican woman.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
they snatched every little baby hair.
yeah,
That
that
shit
joint
was
he
pulled
was
and
laid.
tucked in. It
That
was
joint was
tucked in.
that joint was just had his scalp in a headlock. Just
It was on fire when he went home.
head was on fire. Bree was like, I didn't do this hair. Danielson, I know you didn't. I know you didn't. But that kind of wraps up our little Forbidden Door takeaways. It was a great show. and a great space. But let us know how you feel about Forbidden Door in the comments below. We're gonna get right along to the rest of the show. So the next thing is, so right during in the midst of that, AEW has announced All In Weekend, but now they have announced All Out Weekend, which is the following weekend, I believe, from All In, and it's going to be in Chicago. So they're going to be doing Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, and All Out in Chicago. Now, this is not the first time they've done a slew of events in Chicago this year, and it just seems like they're going back to Chicago a lot. I wanted to know, do you believe that AEW runs Chicago too much?
Oh yeah. It's unfair because like I think like it would help if they, try bouncing around to different states and
Yeah.
interact with different stadiums and whatnot. Like I would think that with him having the power that he has, the money that he has, why would you not want to expand your fan base? Because now
Mhm.
you're forcing people to travel a lot just to watch your shows. Of course, yes, you could wait till the pay per view, but if you're gonna have like weekly events and stuff like that, so not weekly events, you're going to have your pay per views. I feel like it's only fair that you try to at least bounce around, or at least do like most of the major cities. But it
Mm.
feels like he goes to Chicago constantly for both Dynamites and for a lot of the pay per views. Like
Mhm.
it's cool, it's great. I'm pretty sure it's brewing for something else, but the place is still fairly new. Like
Mm.
AEW is still fairly new. I feel like you should just sprinkle yourself a little bit of everywhere. But
Mm.
I haven't really heard fans like complaining too much about it.
Mm.
So I don't know what do you think does that mean?
I don't think that the fans are gonna say too much, especially those in Chicago, because Chicago is a wrestling city. But I just hope that AEW doesn't have like the Vegas curse, where like a market just gets absolutely plowed with the same type of event for months and months and months and months on end. And then when they go back there for shows, now the market is like burnt out. Um, Sometimes I do think that AEW runs Chicago too much, because it's like every time you turn around, they're in Chicago. You know what I
Like
mean? And
didn't
I
feel
feel like there's
special.
other, huh?
It's like they don't make Chicago feel special anymore.
They don't, and I feel like they've. I mean, it also does not feel like Jacksonville was home for AEW. It feels like Chicago is the home for AEW. You know what I mean? Like there was a point in time where like Chicago was special, but if we talk about AEW and we're talking about cities affiliated with AEW, we were talking about Jacksonville. We were talking about Daly's place. And
Mm-hmm.
now it doesn't feel like that anymore. I don't know if it's because there's some venue things going on, but it just doesn't feel like Jacksonville is the home for AEW anymore. And I think that that's a problem, especially when the entire company is pretty much based out of there, if I'm not mistaken. But I think that they are running Chicago a little bit too much. It's becoming a bit excessive.
Where else would you like to see them go?
Philly. Philly. They could do Philly a little bit more. They can do LA a lot more. They can do Phoenix. They
How many
can
times have
do
they came to New York?
they just for the grand slams, really. They
Hmm.
could do New York. They could do Atlanta. Atlanta is another big wrestling city. They've done DC a lot. Um, I think they're going back to Boston to do the Garden for Blood and Guts. But yeah, there are more than enough cities that you can go to. Even if they didn't, they do New York a little bit. They've done Dynamite a bunch at like UBS, so they've done that. So I can't even complain about. But like, there's so
Hmm.
many other cities that you can go to that are great wrestling cities. Granted, they may not be as good as Chicago, but if you want to retain the specialness and the like mystique around Chicago, just do it a little bit less. It's becoming excessive, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think that concludes that. If you think that AEW runs Chicago too much, let us know in the comments below. But we're going to move right along. So, this past Wednesday marked the 25th anniversary of the Mick Foley versus Undertaker Hell in a Cell match. And I wanted to know from your perspective, like, what was the impact of that Hell in a Cell match? Can you still see that influence and that impact today?
The influence, I don't really know because I feel like they avoid everything that made that match super iconic.
Mm.
Like nowadays, they're so focused on safety that a Hell in a Cell match doesn't really have so much hell going on in it. Like
Mm.
not to the extent that they had. Like they went off the edge. They went through the middle. I think Mick Foley lost part of his ear. I think he also dislocated his arm off of it. Like that was really like a Hell in the Cell match. Like they actually utilized the cage more so back then
Yeah.
when I was a kid. So within that a 10-year span, I feel like there was a hefty influence. But then I feel like now because they're so focused on like safety, they have the cage just there, and it's the most I feel like they do is climb the cage. They always have that spot where they climb the cage and they're hitting each other.
Hmm.
They have like spots where they throw each other into the cage. But I'm not gonna lie, the older that I get, because they're not doing all the stuff that I'm used to seeing growing up that really made it like a Hell in the Cell, it's not as exciting to me.
Mm.
But they did make an impact for within that span, because I don't think I ever seen personally a Hell in a Cell match that I feel like could top that. Like, shout out to Mick Foley, bro, because I would have been quit once I fell off the side, but he really did not give a fuck. He was on the stretcher and say, "Yo, let me pull up. I'm not done with this motherfucker." And he went out like a champ. He really did. It's just, they just they're I guess afraid,
Mm.
Like I
Yeah.
understand. I understand. They're trying to be safe. It's just to me, I feel like if I had like my kids watching or something like that, they're gonna watch off of what they see now. What they see now is like the watered down version. I feel like you don't see their influence as much anymore, and
Mm.
kind of makes me a little bit sad, a little disappointed. But what do you think about it? Do you feel like you still see hints of it, or is it just like gone?
I believe that the Hell in a Cell match has become iconic because of that match. And I
Yeah.
feel like you said, like I feel like it's gotten a lot more safe over the years. But I feel like when you have a match like that and the bar is raised to that level, you now know what's possible. Right? Like Mans fell off a cage through the announce table and bro was like, nah, I want more. And then he got put through the top of a cage,
You
landed
did.
on the mat, and but stuff like that sets the bar. It sets the tone for what's possible in matches like these. And I feel like while everybody may or may not admit it, that's a bar, that's a standard, that's something that everybody tries to reach, which is the reason why even outside of that match, there are so many quality Hell in a Cell matches that have put people on the map and have established people. We can look at Mick Foley versus Triple H. I believe it was in 2000. We can look at Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. We can look at Taker versus Triple H with Shawn Michaels as the special guest referee.
Didn't Edge
There's so
versus the Undertaker too in a
Edge
Hell in a
versus the
Cell?
Undertaker as well. There's so many Hell in
The
a Cell
girls
match.
too. We didn't even mention the girls. Sasha was in the
Charlotte
cage how many
versus and
times?
Sasha, yeah. Charlotte
Bailey
and
versus
Sasha,
Sasha.
Bailey
Becky
versus
versus
Sasha.
Sasha.
There's mad at them. There's mad at them. But like stuff like it's the Hell in a Cell match 25 years ago, and the fact that it established the bar and it made the standard that other wrestlers want to aspire to has led us to having so many other great Hell in a Cell matches. Are they as extreme as they were before? Probably not. And considering that WWE is a more PG product, we probably are not going to see any human being get launched off the top of a cage in the foreseeable future. But it has provided us with a benchmark and a standard that like everything can kind of be compared to and that other wrestlers can strive for, which is the reason why there have been so many great Hell in a Cell matches. So that's my stance on it. I think that the influence is still there for sure.
Okay.
But we want to know how y'all feel about the fact that it is 25 years since Hell in a Cell. Let us know in the comments about the influence of this particular match. But on to something that is wrestling related and not wrestling related at the same time. Lil Uzi Vert dropped his album, The Pink Tape, last night. And if you scroll down the list, there's a little track that says Nakamura. And it turns out that Lil Uzi Vert sampled Shinsuke Nakamura's theme song and used it as a song on his latest project. I wanted to know what is your opinion on this wrestling rap crossover once again?
I mean, is the song itself amazing? No, but like I'm gonna listen to it anyways. Yeah, because I'm a dork and I love when rappers are dorks too, and they just embrace the fact that wrestling is still cool. Like I love that. I pop every single time a rapper just like has any wrestling bar. Or they like mention a wrestler's name or a signature move, or they do some type of double entendre with it. Like I
Yeah,
think that's pretty awesome. And for him to even shout out Nakamura is pretty awesome too, because he's not even like right now currently like that big. So I just think that it was kind of random in a great way, just like to just shout him out because I mean he's obviously a really popular rapper. I didn't even know that he was a fan of wrestling. Like that literally caught me off guard. But it's nice. I like to see that Nakamura is getting clout from mainstream artists. Like that's awesome to me. It actually shocked me that he was even able to get a grasp of the instrumental. So I wonder like what went on behind the scenes in order to like get like the rights to do that.
right.
But I thought it was pretty dope. I actually wanted to ask you, Jordan, after of course you give me your take on the song and stuff, but what is your favorite crossover? Whether it's a wrestler's instrumental being used or it's a bar from wrestling. Like what is your favorite?
All right, so boom. My favorite wrestling rap crossover probably was. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think because there's so many. There's so
You
many.
can even name me one, even like one that just comes to
I
your
thought that
mind.
the first thing that comes to my mind was the DX theme song remix with Run DMC. That was actually used as DX's theme song for a little bit. I thought that was tough.
I forgot about that.
This is like
Jesus.
2000 height of Attitude Era. There's gonna be more that come to mind, but when I think about crossovers, I think about that. As it pertains to Uzi, I'm not surprised that this happened. He performed in night one of WrestleMania 38 this past year. Um, and he performed.
Oh, he did. I forgot.
He
Damn.
performed I Just Wanna Rock at, like, the height of the song, and I'm pretty sure that his booking fee was stupid, and I'm pretty sure that, like, there was some form of a negotiation where it was like, "Hey, yo, I won't charge you this much if you let me sample that theme song of yours. I got
Dead ass.
some ideas." Once again, it's all speculation, but
This.
he also had a Trish Stratus bar on another song in the album. I have to look for it because I
Nah, I
forgot what it
gotta
was,
look this up. What?
but Uzi is a known wrestling fan. He was at Mania this past year performing, but I'm not surprised. Like the world, whether they want to be loud about it or not, the world loves pro wrestling. The storytelling behind it, the characters, and it's so closely aligned with so many people's childhoods that it's like it's hard for you to kind of like not like it or escape it. But I'm not surprised that this Uzi thing happened. The track itself is tough, definitely getting added to a workout playlist. Um, but I definitely want to see what other wrestling and rap. Somebody on Twitter said it. They were like, if Nakamura has a match next year, Uzi needs to perform that song while Nakamura is walking out. If it's not, it's what? Racism.
He needs to do the
But
dance with him too.
that would be super tough. That would be super
Oh,
tough.
I found the bar. So I got a white bitch with a brawl status. I wrestle her like Trish Stratus. What?
That's a bar.
What?
That's a bar. That's a bar.
Shout out to the
Shout out Lil Uzi
queen.
Vert. Shout out Lil Ooze. But yeah, if y'all have heard this song, Nakamura by Lil Uzi Vert, let us know in the comments below. We definitely want to talk about it a little bit more and unpack it. But we're gonna move on because we got Money in the Bank predictions. That's right, Money in the Bank today, uh, live from London at the O2 Arena. It's gonna be crazy. This card is absolutely stacked. We're not gonna waste any more time. We're gonna start from the bottom of the card. We got Gunter versus Matt Riddle for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Who do we got?
They're not taking it off of Gunther.
Mm,
I feel like they would even go as far as to if he doesn't like lose it at Mania to put over somebody else, then maybe he's gonna lose the belt. I would give it to like SummerSlam. Like I feel like he would have to lose it on a grand stage, but it would have to set Gunther up to like go for the world titles.
right.
So I think he's gonna retain this only because I can't see Matt Riddle taking this belt right now. I really can't. I don't even know what they would do with him. Not that he's not good. He's fucking great, but I don't see how they would build a story arc with him in the belt right now. I can't see it. So I'm gonna go with Gunther. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with Gunter too. I don't see him losing this championship. I don't see him losing it anytime soon. I definitely don't see him losing it to Matt Riddle. Um, and I just feel like it's just Gunter's just gonna continue that reign, and that's just really all it is to it. I don't really have an in-depth explanation for it, but I got Gunter. The next is the women's tag team championships are on the line as your faves Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler go up against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Who do you got?
I don't really like anyone here. I guess who I dislike the least is Liv. Uh, I don't see them giving it to Raquel or Liv. I feel like, yeah, no, I don't. I feel like they're gonna drag out this Ronda Rousey and Shayna Dreadful reign that they got going on. How
Shayna
do you feel
Dreadful
about
is
it?
nuts.
No, it's
Ah,
really dreadful. How do you
I,
feel about them?
I feel. I mean, I don't. I'm neutral about them. I feel like I'm glad that they have. I'm glad that Shayna is a champion because she deserves it. I'm glad that she's getting her TV time. Um, the tag team division as a whole for WWE is in the women's department is very, very much underwhelming and depleted. I feel like they got some women's tag teams down in NXT that they may need to call up very, very soon because the division is just lacking as far as legitimate tag teams. But that's another story for a different day. But I'm gonna go with Ronda and Shayna. I feel like Ronda and Shayna are a good duo. I feel like they are. I mean, the only ones that are captivating enough to draw attention to the belts at this point in time. So I got Ronda and Shayna. So
Cool,
boom,
cool.
there's that. Then we're gonna go to the single. Well, I don't know why I was about to say this like this, but it is the match for the World Heavyweight Championship. We got Seth freaking Rollins versus Finn Balor. Who do we have?
Seth freaking Rollins versus Finn Balor. Whew. Seth can't lose it this soon.
Mm,
You can't bring out a belt this important and then lose it in less than 8 weeks.
mm,
That's just not happening. But it sucks too because like he burned Finn in that promo, and
mm,
like I still feel the sting. So it's just like if Finn keeps taking these L's, then what? You know what I mean?
right.
Then what? Because I already feel like we know he's a good wrestler, but he doesn't feel like a threat anymore. I think he
Mm.
stopped feeling like a threat a while ago. I'm gonna go with Seth. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with Seth as well. I feel like Finn is actually eventually going to capture the title, but if it's just regular Finn, I don't think he's gonna win. It has to be the Demon Finn Balor, I believe, for him
That feet
to.
the demon dead.
I mean, yeah, but that's the only case that I can see. That's the only time I can see Finn Balor winning the championship is if he had that demon persona on. Whether
You
he's
think
dead or not,
he?
I don't. I never said that he was dead or alive. I'm just saying, if he were to win the championship, I feel like it would have to be as that character because regular Finn ain't really. Yeah,
You think he could like just kill it off, but spawn something bigger than a demon, like a
I don't
devil
know.
fin, like a
I
full-on
don't know.
Satanist fin?
I mean, not a
I don't
Satanist
know.
fan.
I
No,
don't
we don't need them
know.
vibes. I don't know if we. I don't want another demon Finn. I feel like he already has like the cool heel persona, and then you have
He
Demon
lost
Finn.
to a 50-year-old.
Very that, but that's a different story for a different day. You lost to your ex husband, but I don't see Finn taking this. He would have to come back as the Demon Finn Balor to win. But I got Seth freaking Rollins next. What do we have? Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio with Rhea Ripley. Who do we have for this match?
I feel like I see Rhea helping him to cheat to win. I'm actually go with
Mm,
Dominic, and I'm expecting a huge boo fest. I'm expecting him to get booed out the building. Yeah,
I can
Cody
act.
Rican Rose is going to take an L.
Cody Regan Rhodes is nuts. But I'm gonna go with Dominic as well. I feel like Dominic is actually one of the hottest characters in WWE right now. for many reasons. But I do feel like if you want to continue to have Cody build character, I feel like Cody losing via a cheap victory, I feel like would do well by him. But yeah, I got Dominic Mysterio. But after that, we have the Bloodline Civil War. We have Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa versus Jimmy and Jay, the Usos. Who do we have for this match?
This is hard because you could really argue two ways.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that the Usos go over, because that would just
Mm-hmm.
make sense for the storyline. But then I feel like if they win, then it expedites them falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
But if you let and then of course obviously it's gonna be like you're gonna pin Roman versus Solo, and then you're gonna expect that sooner. But I feel like Solo versus Roman is kind of like a WrestleMania worthy match that you could save for next year. So I wonder if they're gonna slow burn this
Mm-hmm.
and have Roman and Solo win for now to continue this, or off of just some bullshit they could lose. Like I actually I don't know. It's kind of up in the air for me because like do we end this faster before WrestleMania and save this for like a SummerSlam thing, or are we going to just drag this out? I actually don't know. Do you have an answer?
I so for starters, I got the Usos winning. But I think that there's so much flexibility in this story for it to go until WrestleMania.
How?
So I feel like here's how I would personally book it, right? Fantasy booking. Usos win, they pull out the victory specifically by Jay pinning Roman Reigns. Jay pins Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns absolutely loses his mind. Him and Solo go to work on Jimmy and Jay. Beat them up. Both of them get stretchered out. 2 or 3, 2 or 3 they're out for 2 to 3 months. While they're out for 2 to 3 months, Roman continues to make defenses, defenses after defenses after defensive. Right before Survivor Series, the Usos come back and they challenge Roman to a 5-on-5 elimination match. Roman and Solo could be on one side, Jimmy and Jay could be on the other side, and they both have to pick 3 people of their choosing, right? And Jimmy and Jay can pick out 3 people they're choosing. Roman and Solo can pick out 3 people they're choosing. From there, Roman and them pick whoever. The Usos pick whoever. They go to Survivor Series. Roman and them win. Roman wins. Or no, actually, I take that back. The Usos win. The Usos team wins. And then now we have a couple matches between Survivor Series and WrestleMania. So you have like Elimination Chamber. You have Roman versus Jay at one. You have Roman versus Jimmy at another. He tries to incapacitate both of them. He goes up against
Mm.
Cody at next year's WrestleMania. The Usos come back at Mania, interfere in the match. All the while, Solo's still by Roman's side, but Roman begins to do to Solo what he did to Jimmy and Jay. And then when the Usos come back, Solo tags along with them to interfere and cost Roman the match in Mania, and then Roman drops the belt. So you could easily have this kind of go into Mania by pacing it and having like a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. But as far as this match is concerned, I definitely have the Usos winning this one for sure.
I do agree with that would actually be a fantastic way to build this long term. And I don't know why, but as you were speaking, for some weird reason, when you the second you said like when everyone gets teams to go against one another, I just imagine everyone turning against Roman since he kind of beat everyone's ass, and I would
Mm-hmm.
therefore think that they hate him. You know how one time they had like John Cena and Randy Orton like versus the whole entire like Raw
The
locker.
roster.
I don't know why. I was just imagining what if they just did that against Roman. That was the only way you could take them down. Like we all lost. You just took everyone that he beat and everyone just like banded together to beat his ass. That'd be kind of interesting. It wouldn't
every
happen.
every time I think about just the mass jumping, I think about that video of somebody on Twitter was playing in 2K, and it was like Hogan versus every black person on the roster.
I'm sorry.
and Hogan was getting jumped. It was like the New Day, Street Profits, Bianca Belair. It was just
Well,
all of them jumping them. It was great.
they had a
But
slave song playing over it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that. But back to the main topic. I got the Usos winning this. Um, who do you have? You have the Usos?
I didn't choose, but I guess based off of the explanation, if it's possible to book it long term, I feel like it would make sense to give it to the Usos. Otherwise, if they lost after banding with each other, it wouldn't mean anything. Like that
Right.
that whole thing between what they did between the previous pay per view and then what they did on the other episode of was it SmackDown? Yeah, what they done SmackDown, it wouldn't mean anything if they
Right.
lost. Yeah,
That makes
I'm gonna go with
sense.
that. Yeah.
That makes sense. Going from there. We got the two Money in the Bank ladder matches. So starting with the women's, we got Zelina Vega versus Becky Lynch versus Zoe Stark versus Bailey versus Io Sky versus Trish Stratus. Who do you have?
Honestly, okay, I'm very happy that we have so many different faces in here.
Same.
Um, Bailey's definitely not getting it. I see one of Bailey's partners costing well, I guess not one of Io Sky's in there. I see Io Sky and Bailey fighting with each other
Mm-hmm.
over who gets it, so I don't see them getting it. Trish and Zoe are an alliance, so that makes you obviously think that Trish may get it because she may help her. I don't see Becky Lynch getting it. I
Mm,
don't think Becky Lynch needs it. Zelina Vega getting it would honestly be really fun. I
that
would
would
love
be.
to see what she would do with herself and her character if she got it. Like, I wonder if she would manage to be like more annoying, but in a fun way of how like Carmella was when she won.
Yeah.
Just because like she's so little, and it would feel like a Rey Mysterio moment. Just with how little this
Ooh.
girl is, and she managed to just eat through a legend and all these other much bigger, more iconic, and there's a Grand Slam person, Bailey, being in there. I
Right.
think that'd be huge for Zelina if she actually won.
Mm,
But there's so many like little storylines going in there. Like Becky Lynch, based off of what she said to Rhea the other day, I could also see them why they would give it to her. When she took a jab at her for not defending her belt. I don't know. I feel like there's like a few going on with that.
mm-hmm.
But it's just like, why would you put Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark in there and not give them something? It's
Right.
like it could go many ways, and that's why I like this lineup so much because like now I'm excited. It could go anywhere. I don't know
Mm,
how. There's many ways. I'm gonna choose Zelina
mm.
just because I think that there's more that you could play with if you gave her that. I mean, doesn't she have unfinished business with Rhea off of her match in Puerto Rico?
Yes, for
I feel
sure.
like she based off how good she was in that match too. I feel like you could definitely go off of that. I'm gonna go with Selena. Yeah, let's
Good
go with
choice.
Selena. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with Io Sky. And I'm gonna go with Io Sky because Io Sky is the only person in this match who I feel like would not only be appealing to challenge a champion, but also has a starter feud, right? She wins the Money in the Bank briefcase. That her versus Bailey story is automatically built in. That's automatically going to be a match that can build Io up and a feud that can kind of keep her on TV while helping her prepare for her next level, her next step. Like I remember when Edge won the Money in the Bank ladder match, and obviously he had that feud with Matt Hardy, and that rivalry kind of elevated him to a main event status, so that when it was time for him to challenge for the belt, it wasn't like he felt out of place. I feel
That's
like
true.
that is what Bailey versus Io could do for Io. And on top of that, I also really want to see Io versus Asuka, and Io versus Asuka just sounds really, really appealing to me. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with Io Sky. But now we're moving on to the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. We got Rico Booty versus Shinsuke Nakamura versus LA Knight
No, Rico Booty.
versus Santos Escobar versus Butch versus Damian Priest versus Logan Paul. Who do you have?
They've been building up LA Knight, so I could see that.
Hmm.
Definitely been working on him. Ricochet, I feel like he's there. Butch, I feel like he's just there. Damian Priest, I mean, it wouldn't be wrong if he got it, but I don't think there'd be much excitement if he did get it.
Hmm.
Not that I don't like him, like I like him a lot. It's just that with the lineup you have, see, like the bias in me wants to go with Logan Paul because I really do enjoy him. But I don't think he's actually gonna get it. If he did, that'd be fucking awesome. That'd be
Right.
fucking awesome. But I feel like he's there just really just for showcasing. I'm gonna go with LA Knight. I feel like he's been getting a very slow push, but this might be his little moment. Yeah.
I actually agree with you. Um, LA Knight is over. It's it's insane how over LA Knight is. The pop that he got out when he walked out on SmackDown in London, absolutely berserk. And he is a megastar. He is the moment, and I feel like it's his time. I feel like there's certain people and there's certain superstars that you can build for a little bit, and then there's certain people where you just got to act on it now. LA Knight is one of those people, in my opinion. LA Knight is someone who has expressed that he's had a long career. He's in his I believe he's in his mid 40s right now. And I feel like because he's hot now, you have to pull the trigger on him now. Like, this is not a 5-10 year project. This is get him as many title reigns and good stories as you can within the next 3 to 4 years, because this may be it for him after that. He's had a storied long career on the indies and Impact, and he's made a mark everywhere. And I think this is his time. He's super over. The people love him, and it's time for him to win the Money in the Bank ladder match. So I got LA Knight winning. And that wraps up our predictions for today. If y'all have any predictions, if we were wrong, if we were right, let us know in the comments below. Tell us what you feel about Money in the Bank. Um, but yeah, that concludes today's show. Once again, we're gonna be on this space today, 2:45 Eastern Standard Time, 11:45 Pacific Standard Time for Money in the Bank in London. Thank y'all so much for tapping into the show, and we will see y'all next week.